All right, so are you ready to dive into this? Today we're looking at electric vehicles and more specifically, the cost of their batteries.
Okay.
You know, everyone wants to know like what's happening with EVs and the market and prices and all that stuff.
Yeah, definitely a hot topic these days.
We've got some analysis from Bloomberg and some insights from the Electric Viking.
Oh, awesome.
And just to kind of blow your mind right off the bat, the price of lithium iron phosphate batteries,
Right.
those are the ones in most EVs,
Yeah.
they've dropped by like 51% in the last year.
Wow.
It's insane. So what does this mean for the future of electric cars? And what should you know about this whole crazy shift?
Well, it's really fascinating because this disruption is happening so fast.
Yeah.
Hardly anyone predicted this.
Bloomberg is saying that these LFP batteries are now averaging $53 per kilowatt hour.
Okay.
Last year, they were at $95.
Yeah, that's a huge
That
difference.
is a huge difference.
And you know, that price point is really important because it means we're hitting this point where electric vehicles can compete with gas cars on price.
Right. We're talking about reaching price parity, which has always been the big thing holding EVs back.
Can you explain what price parity actually means for like a regular person who wants to buy a new car?
Sure. So price parity basically means that the upfront cost of buying an electric vehicle is about the same or even cheaper than buying a gas car.
Okay.
So for a long time, EVs have been seen as the more expensive
The
option.
luxury option.
Yeah, exactly. But now these battery prices are changing all of that.
And the Electric Viking is predicting that EVs will consistently be cheaper than gas cars in just a few years.
Wow.
He says like as early as 2026, 2027.
That's right around the corner.
That's like tomorrow.
Yeah.
So let's get into the why.
Yeah.
What's making these battery prices drop so quickly?
Well, Bloomberg points to three main things.
Yeah.
First, the cost of raw materials has gone down, especially for cathodes.
Okay.
And cathodes are a really important part of the battery.
Right.
And they're also the most expensive part.
So does that mean there's just more of these materials now so the price is lower? Well, it's not quite that simple. There's also this thing called overcapacity.
Overcapacity.
Yeah, we're seeing so many battery factories being built right now.
Oh, wow.
And there are more factories than we actually need for the current demand.
Oh, interesting. So it's like a battery factory arms race or something?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Big manufacturers like BYD and CATL, they're both Chinese companies.
Right.
They're cutting prices to stay competitive.
And those Chinese companies are really dominating the market right now.
Yeah, absolutely. They have over 55% of the global market share.
Wow.
And that leads us to the third factor driving down prices: technological advancements.
Okay.
Here at MindMeld we believe our best future will rely on a fusion of man and machine. Subscribe to the channel to follow our journey.
These Chinese companies, they're putting a ton of money into research and development.
Oh, cool.
We're constantly innovating and finding ways to make battery production more efficient.
So it's cheaper materials, fierce competition, and new technology all happening at the same time.
Exactly.
It's the perfect storm for lower prices.
You got it. And this is going to have a big impact on a lot more than just electric vehicles.
That's right. The Electric Viking was talking about stationary energy storage.
Yeah.
I have to admit, I didn't really understand what that meant at first.
So basically, stationary energy storage is using these big batteries to store energy from renewables like solar and wind power.
Oh, okay. So instead of using the regular power grid, which uses fossil fuels a lot of the time,
Right.
you can store energy from cleaner sources.
Exactly. And with battery prices going down, these big batteries are becoming a lot more affordable.
That makes sense.
The Electric Viking said that in a lot of cases, it's actually cheaper now to install these batteries along with renewables than it is to keep using those old coal-fired power plants.
Wow, that's crazy.
It really shows how this whole thing is changing the energy landscape.
It's a game changer for sure. You know, it makes you wonder what companies like Toyota are thinking right now.
Yeah.
They've been a little slow on the whole electric car thing.
They have, and they've said some things about EVs that haven't really panned out.
Like that whole thing about limited battery materials and lithium shortages. The Electric Viking totally debunked that.
He did. There were a lot of predictions about lithium scarcity being a problem.
Yeah,
Some companies even said we just don't have enough lithium for everyone to have an electric car.
right. Toyota was one of them.
Yeah, but it turns out that wasn't really true.
So for someone listening who's maybe thinking about buying a new car or just wants to know how all of this affects them, what's the main thing they should take away from this?
That's a great question, and it's one we need to keep exploring. This isn't just about cars, it's about how we power our lives.
Right.
And that raises questions about things like energy independence and transportation and even climate change.
So it sounds like this is just the beginning, and we're going to see some big changes coming up.
Absolutely. And those changes are going to bring both challenges and opportunities.
Yeah.
We need to think about how this will affect different people who want to buy cars, how governments will react with policies and incentives,
Right.
and how we can all adapt to this new energy landscape.
A lot to think about, for sure. Yeah. It's easy to get lost in all the technical stuff.
Right.
But we're really talking about a huge change in how we live our lives.
Exactly. And I think the most obvious place to start is what this means for someone who wants to buy an EV.
Okay.
If those predictions are right, and EVs do become cheaper than gas cars in the next few years,
Yeah.
it could totally change how we think about transportation.
It's not just about the price tag, though, right?
No, it's not.
I remember the electric Viking talking about how much cheaper it is to, like, fuel an EV compared to a gas car.
That's a really good point. EVs are way cheaper to run. You don't have to buy gas. And they have fewer parts that need fixing.
Right.
For a lot of people, those savings could really add up.
Yeah, for sure. But what about someone who's not planning on buying a new car anytime soon?
Mm-hmm.
Will they see any benefits from this whole shift towards electric?
Even if you're not buying a new car right now, this is still going to affect you.
Oh, so?
Well, as more people switch to EVs, we're probably going to see changes in infrastructure. Government policies, even the way our cities are designed.
So things like more charging stations.
Yeah.
Maybe tax breaks for EV owners.
Yes, that.
To get more people to buy them.
Mm-hmm.
It could even lead to things like congestion pricing or like special lanes for EVs.
Yeah, exactly. This transition is going to have a ripple effect.
Okay, so we've talked about transportation, but what about that energy storage thing?
Right.
How does that actually affect people in their everyday lives?
Well, imagine being able to power your house with solar panels
Okay.
and store that energy in a battery system that you can actually afford.
Right.
You wouldn't have to rely on the power grid as much, and a lot of places still use fossil fuels for that.
So it's like a step towards energy independence.
Exactly.
But is that really possible for most people right now?
As battery tech gets better and those prices keep dropping,
Yeah.
we're going to see more and more homes and businesses using these systems.
Yeah.
And that could lead to a power grid that's more decentralized and more resilient.
So this is about way more than just cars.
Yeah. It's like a whole new way of thinking about energy. You got it. The possibilities seem endless.
It's all about connecting the dots,
Right.
seeing how these different pieces of information fit together.
And speaking of connecting the dots,
Yeah.
the Electric Viking mentioned that some power plants are already using batteries as backup systems,
Uh-huh.
even for fossil fuel generation.
That's right.
Isn't that kind of ironic?
It does seem a little strange.
Yeah.
But it also shows that even the people who have always made money from fossil fuels, they're starting to see the potential of batteries.
So even within the current system, things are starting to shift towards batteries.
Yes, and that shift brings up another important point, the impact on jobs.
Okay.
There's no question that this change is going to cause some disruption in the car industry.
That's true. But the Electric Vikings seem pretty optimistic about new jobs in clean energy.
Yeah, he's right to be optimistic.
Yeah.
This shift is also a huge opportunity to create new jobs in these new sectors.
Yeah. We're going to need people to design and build and install and maintain these battery systems.
Yeah.
And all the infrastructure that goes with them.
So it's not just about people losing jobs in the old industries.
No.
It's also about creating new opportunities in these new fields.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like any big technological change, there are going to be winners and losers.
Right.
The companies and the countries that adapt the fastest and invest in these new technologies are the ones that will do well.
This feels like a big societal shift.
It is.
But I'm still trying to figure out what it means for me personally.
Uh-huh.
Like, how do I fit into this new world?
Well, the choices you make today about the car you drive, the energy you use, even the companies you support,
Yeah.
those choices can help shape the future.
You know, it's funny thinking about how this shift to electric is going to change everything.
Here at MindMeld XL, we believe our best future will rely on a fusion of man and machine. Subscribe to the channel to follow our journey.
Well, thinking about what the Electric Viking said about Lamborghini,
Oh, yeah.
like, they want to keep making those hybrid supercars for as long as they can,
Right.
even after the EU bans new gas engine cars in 2035.
It's a good example of a company that's kind of stuck between the old and the new.
Yeah.
They're holding on to that gas engine tradition even though the world is moving on.
And as those batteries keep getting better and cheaper,
Uh-huh.
that gas engine is going to look pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, like the Electric Viking said, putting a gas engine in an EV in 2035,
Right.
it's just not going to make any sense.
It really changes what performance even means.
Absolutely.
Why would you want a heavy gas engine?
Yeah.
When you could have that instant torque and efficiency of a pure electric powertrain.
It's a whole different ball game.
It's like their whole brand is built on something that's becoming obsolete.
Yeah.
Talk about an identity crisis.
Big time. And it raises a bigger question, too.
What's that?
What happens to all those famous car brands
Yeah.
that are known for their loud engines and all that?
Right.
How do they change in a world where performance is all about electric motors
Yeah.
and quiet acceleration?
It'll be interesting to see how they adapt.
For sure. I think that's what makes this so exciting.
What do you mean?
This isn't just about replacing gas engines with batteries. It's about completely rethinking what a car can be.
Now you're getting me excited. Are we talking flying cars?
Yeah.
Self-driving pods?
Haha. Well, maybe not flying cars just yet.
Okay.
But think about what you can do when you don't have to worry about a combustion engine anymore.
Right.
EVs can be so much more than just a way to get around.
Like what?
They can be mobile power sources.
Oh, wow.
Connected hubs, even extensions of our homes or offices.
Wow, we went from battery prices to the future of transportation.
I know, right?
And now the evolution of humanity. This is why I love doing these deep dives.
Me too.
They always go in unexpected directions.
That's the beauty of it. You connect the dots, you see the bigger picture.
Yeah.
You start to understand how all these different things are related.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into EV batteries,
Okay.
what's the one thing our listeners should take away from all of this?
I think the biggest takeaway is that this battery revolution is happening now.
Yeah.
And it's happening faster than anyone thought. It's going to change the world in a huge way.
It's pretty amazing.
It is.
It's also a little bit scary.
Yeah, change can be scary.
Yeah.
But I really believe this shift can lead to a better future.
A more sustainable future.
Yes, and a more equitable one, too.
So for everyone listening out there,
Uh-huh.
as we move into this electric future,
Yeah.
remember that you're not just along for the ride.
Right.
You can make choices that shape this transition.
Absolutely.
From the car you drive, to the energy you use, to the companies you support.
It all matters.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of electric vehicles and those amazing plummeting battery costs.